Dobar dan svima. Želim vam srdačnu dobrodošlicu na stručni skup Kazališna publika, projekt Audience Segmentation System in European Theatres. Pozdravljam sve govornike, posebno pozdravljam gospođu Maju Zrnčić, predstavnicu Ministarstva kulture i medija, voditeljicu programa Ruksak pun kulture. Pozdravljam gospođu Žanu Not, predstavnicu Ureda za kulturu grada Zagreba. Pozdravljam naše inozemne partnere, domaće stručnjake u području rada s publikom i razvoja publike koji nam sudjeluju u današnjem stručnom skupu, predstavnike medija koji nas prate i najsrdačnije pozdravljam sve vas, poštovane kolege, dragi gledatelji i pratitelji ovog našeg stručnog skupa. Skup će se održavati dvojezično na hrvatskom i engleskom jeziku. Za sve kojima je potrebno, prijevod možete uključiti odabirom tipke Interpretation u alatnoj traci na dnu ekrana, a zatim odaberete jezik. Ukoliko ne želite koristiti usluge prevoditelja, odaberite opciju ili vam stoji opcija off. This expert meeting will be held bilingually in Croatian and English. For anyone who needs it, you can turn on translation by selecting the interpretation button in the toolbar at the bottom of the screen and then selecting the language. If you do not want to use the translation services, please select off option. Dakle, projekt Audience Segmentation System in European Theatres provelo je Narodno sveučilište Dubrava u partnerstvu sa 6 drugih inozemnih ustanova i organizacija. Glavni organizator projekta je Odjel za umjetnički menadžment pri Akademiji izvedbenih umjetnosti u Pragu, a partneri na projektu bili su The Audience Agency iz Ujedinjenog Kraljevstva, Institut za umjetnost i Kazalište iz Praga u Češkoj, Narodno sveučilište Dubrava, Zagreb, Hrvatska, IG Kultur Österreich, Beč, Austrija i Arts Project Foundation iz Sofije, Bugarske, te Metropolia University iz Helsinkija iz Finske. Uz navedene partnere u ovom projektu je izravno sudjelovalo još 20-ak europskih kazališta te druge kulturne organizacije koje su uključene u Europsku noć kazališta. Kroz svoje umjetničko programiranje i marketinške aktivnosti ustanove uključene u ovaj projekt radile su kako na provedbi projekta, tako i na produbljivanju odnosa sa svojom publikom. Više o samom projektu bit će riječi kasnije. Narodno sveučilište Dubrava je u svom 60-godišnjem postojanju steklo značajno iskustvo u sektoru participativnih kulturnih praksi i neformalnog obrazovanja u kulturi. Ono provodi niz tečajeva, predavanja, radionica, izložbi, koncerata, performansa iz različitih područja umjetnosti, ali također nastoji sve umjetničke grane koje zastupa povezati i sa publikom s kojom je svakodnevno u kontaktu kroz različite participativne programe. Vijeće Kazalište Dubrava kao ustrojbena jedinica Narodnog sveučilišta Dubrava posljednjih 66 godina održava kazališne predstave i druge programe za mladu publiku, te je također organizator i koordinator Europske noći kazališta u Hrvatskoj, a tu je ova manifestacija kod nas i započela. Ja sam Sandra Banić-Naumovski, viša sam stručna suradnica i voditeljica Dječjeg kazališta Dubrava, te također zadužena za koordinaciju Europske noći kazališta u Hrvatskoj i bila sam neposredna provoditeljica aktivnosti ASSET projekta, te ću biti današnja domaćica i moderatorica ovog skupa. Osnovna namjera organizacije ovog stručnog skupa, za kog vjerujemo da će biti tek prvi u nizu stručnih skupova koji u budućnosti planiramo organizirati, je bio pokrenuti i proširiti polje stručne razmjene znanja, spoznaja i iskustava u radu s publikom, a osobito u ovim izazovnim vremenima za obavljanje kazališne djelatnosti. Također nam je cilj bio proširiti rezultate i spoznaje do kojih smo došli ovim projektom sa svim ustanovama i organizacijama uključenima u Noć kazališta u Republici Hrvatskoj pa i šire, kako bi evo možda potaknuli nekog na oblikovanje srodnih projekata, kako bismo širili stečene spoznaje i rezultate i kako bismo zajedničkim naporima, nadamo se, pomogli jedni drugima u kompleksnom pitanju rada s publikom i razvoja publike. Ukoliko tijekom održavanja stručnog skupa budete imali pitanja za bilo koga od govornika ili za stručni skup u cijelosti, svoja pitanja možete postavljati u mjestu predviđenom za chat. Pri završetku stručnog skupa pročitat ćemo pitanja koja ste nam postavili i pokušat ćemo dati odgovore na njih. Pa krenimo sa stručnim skupom. Prvi dio skupa održat će se na engleskom jeziku, stoga molim sve kojima je potreban prijevod na hrvatski jezik da uključe sada prijevod. Okay. Dear ASSET partners, I'm welcoming you to our expert meeting about theater audiences. I would like to give a word now to Martina Peckova-Černa, PhD. She works in Arts and Theater Institute in Prague, and she will tell us more about ASSET project, how we got to the idea to design and implement this project. So Martina is theater researcher, translator and cultural manager since 2010. She is head of International Cooperation Department at the Arts and Theater Institute in Prague. She is the secretary of the Czech Center of the ITI, International Theater Institute, as well as the member of several expert juries. She occasionally publishes in Czech and international journals specializing in theater and culture. Martina graduated from Theater Studies at the Department of Theater Studies at the Faculty of Arts, Charles University. It's her master's degree. And Art of Music and at the Department of Music Production, Music and Dance Faculty, Academy of Performing Arts in Prague. It's her doctoral program. Her sphere of interest covers contemporary drama, primarily written in German and Spanish, contemporary Czech theater, and cultural policy of Central Europe. So, Martina, you can present our project now. Thank you.
Hello, Sandra. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me in this conference. It's a pleasure to review what we did in the ASSET project, and I'm happy to see some of the partners again here. And I would love to see the audiences, but it's impossible as we are facing new waves of COVID pandemics. So unfortunately, but at least we can do it this way, and we will share some of our results in this format. My task today is to share some information about the ASSET project. So I hope you can see my presentation now. Can you confirm, Sandra, that it works? Yeah, perfect. So I will tell you something how the project was born, and then the other speakers and colleagues will complete my information. So as Sandra commented, the audience segmentation system in European theaters was a project supported by Creative Europe, which was implemented in the years 2019 to 2021. So it's just been finished. And it was born from two, let's say, inputs. The first one, and that one from our point of view, was the theater night in Czech Republic. Sandra mentioned many things about me, but I should mention something about the Arts and Theater Institute. We are the main coordinator of theater night in the Czech Republic, besides other activities we do. And theater night in the Czech Republic has been held since 2013. Of course, it's a huge event, and I don't need to explain what is it about, as probably many Croatian theater night participants and coordinators are present at this conference. What I should mention is that it's really a huge event in our country, and it attracts many theater and culture organizations in our country to take part in the event. Of course, as coordinators, we have evidence of who is programming some events in frame of the theater night in the Czech Republic. So you can see some numbers right now on your screens. But of course, as the main idea is to attract new audiences to theater via this event, we have been always very much interested also in knowing who is the audience of theater night and who is the audience, theater audience in general. So we were, before the ASSET project, we had organized some surveys by ourselves where we tried to map who were the audiences of theater night. As you see, we did these surveys in 2013, 14, and 15. And we had some knowledge about theater night audiences before the ASSET project has been started. Some findings are included in my presentation, but if you want to know more about theater night in the Czech Republic and our surveys, you can check our brand new publication about 7 editions or 7 years of are available. There are also profiles of theaters participating in Czech Theater Night, and where also my great colleague Sandra Banic-Naumovsky wrote an article explaining the history of European Theater Night. And here I am coming to the second source of the ASSET project. The origin of ASSET project is, of course, connected with not only with the Czech Theater Night, but with the European Theater Night network, which is a great network reaching out to many culture organizations in many countries and really huge numbers of audiences. And it was, it has always been our dream to establish some cooperation in frame of this network. So when we were looking at the possible topics, there was huge discussion what to do, how to establish our cooperation. But then at the very end, we came to the idea that it might be the audience which is in core of our attention in all theater nights, events in all participating countries. So in this way, the main idea of the project was born. And so you see now the ASSET partners were 4 national coordinators of theater night are included. Not only us, the Arts and Theatre Institute and Národno sveučilište Dubrava, but also our Austrian partners, IG Kultur Österreich, and Arts Project Foundation in Bulgaria, but also other partners. You can see that we have 2 academies or universities in our group, and also the audience agency based in UK. And exactly these partners brought the methodology and expertise we needed for the topic to research theater audience. So the group was formed this way, and I think that all the expertise was very beneficiary for all activities implemented in frame of the project and for the results. The main organizer of the ASSET project, which is the Department of Arts Management at the Theatre Faculty in Prague, came with the idea to work with the audience segmentation methodology. Therefore, also the audience agency was approached and invited into this project, and the whole partners consortium developed the methodology and the plan of the project. So as I said, the main goal of the project was not only research of theater audiences, but also an attempt to directly implement the results of theater research into the plans of theaters which were involved in the project. Not only in their marketing plans, but also in their dramaturgy. And therefore, I wanted to show you also the trajectory of the ASSET project. So at the very beginning, we created the methodology. We were going through the phase of mapping existing data of theater audiences in the involved theaters. We organized also workshops and trainings for theaters in the 5 participating countries. Then, of course, a very important activity of the project was data collection, so direct communication with the audiences in theaters in 5 European capitals, in Prague, in Sofia, in Vienna, in Zagreb, and in Helsinki. And through consultations and presentation of the data results to theaters, we were trying to implement and to impact the plans of theaters which were involved in the ASSET projects. An audience segmentation model was created from all the results we gathered throughout the project, and this resulting model was presented in the final ASSET conference in Prague, which was organized also in this way due to COVID as an online event in May 2021. And it is available in the ASSET final publication, which will be presented by Michal Lazňovský later on. One part, an important part of the ASSET project was also the Asset Symposium, which was held in February 2019 in Zagreb, in Národno sveučilište. And it was the very first historical gathering of national coordinators of theater nights throughout Europe. So it was also an important networking moment of the whole ASSET project. Here you can see the list of participating theaters in the ASSET project. As I said, we chose theaters from 5 European capitals, Prague, Vienna, Helsinki, Zagreb, and Sofia. We try to reach a high diversity of involved theaters. So we have public theaters, theaters with more companies involved, but we have also small independent scenes focused not only on theater, but also on dance and new circus. So we tried to really involve the high diversity of participating theaters. And here you can see the results of the project. Of course, it was deeply impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, but still we were able to collect an impressive number of valid responses in our surveys. So the total number exceeds 11,000 responses, which is really an impressive number. And on this number of responses, the final results are based. We trained more than 100 culture workers in 5 countries through the trainings and ASSET workshops. And so not only the theaters where we collected the data, but also other theaters in the respective country were invited to participate in the trainings and workshops. And through our events, through the symposium and the final conference, we reached theater and culture communities in 12 countries. And of course, the book is here, and we are continuing dissemination of the asset results. Here are some photos from the whole process, from the asset workshops. Here, Zagreb, of course, Vienna. Here are some photos from the data collection process. This is the first phase before COVID-19. So under normal circumstances in the theaters, live with the audiences. Later on, of course, we had to work also with online surveys. And these are some photos from the Zagreb Symposium in 2019 and from the final conference, which is still accessible through the YouTube channel of the theater faculty in Prague. And you can watch it if you're interested in what was presented there. I would highlight especially this part, the evidence-based culture policymaking panel discussion, because of course we tried to contextualize the asset results also with cultural policy experts, and we've got in the conference an interesting feedback from cultural policy experts on the possible further use of the asset results. This is the cover of the book. I am not supposed to speak about it. It will be presented a bit later, but of course, this is one of the most important results of the whole project. And I will not say what you can find in it, because it will be the task of the further speakers. But of course, there is one small chapter dedicated also to European Theatre Night. We did as one part of the data collection also within the Theatre Night events. So there are also some data available about Theatre Night in the participating countries. So that's it. Thank you for your attention, and I am available for the later discussion.
Thank you very much, Martina, for presenting our project, its origin and goals. I will now welcome Daniel Cowley. He's from the Audience Agency in London, UK, and then we'll be presenting project methodology and some results. So Dan works with a wide range of clients, specializing in quantitative research, bespoke analysis, and devising and managing large-scale data collection projects, as well as working directly with clients. He also manages the Audience Agency's team of quantitative researchers and advises our consultancy team on research methodology. Entering the world of audience development through researching visitors at museums and galleries across Manchester in the mid-2000s. Dan has been with the Audience Agency since 2007. He has a first degree in creative music technology from the University of Hull and is an affiliate member of the Market Research Society. Did I say everything right, Dan?
Yep, absolutely perfect, yes.
So here you are.
Thank you. Okay, hey everyone, and yeah, nice to see all of my asset friends, albeit on a screen, but better than nothing. Okay, so I'm just going to throw up some slides. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to go through just quickly an overview of the methodology, which Martina's already touched on, and go through some of the results of the project, and we'll have a look at the how the segmentation ended up looking as well. And I'll really only scratch the surface of what we found out, because there's a lot of there's a lot of interesting stuff, and I'm sure it'll be better presented in the publication than I could do here now. So I'll just pull out some of the highlights to give you a sense of the sorts of things that are going to be in the publication and the sorts of things we found out, and yeah, the sorts of things you might be interested in learning more about. Okay, so the methodology for the project had 5 main stages, and they all link together and in some instances loop back on each other. So the idea really was to as Martina said, to have kind of a dual purpose to the project. So it's partly about training and spreading the word about audience development and segmentation, and then partly about actually collecting data and understanding what the audience for theatre in the 5 cities and collectively is like. So the first step on that journey was training and consultations. That's all about understanding why are we doing this? What's going to be the most useful way of doing this project? Making sure that all the tools that we design to collect data are actually useful and meaningful for the individual theatres being involved, and getting a sense of practically what's going to be a viable way to run the project. So then after having done that, we designed tools which were used to collect the actual data. So that's paper questionnaires and e-surveys. And then all the theatres went and actually collected their own data, either by asking visitors face-to-face, maybe in the interval of a show or after a show, asking them questions about who they are and why they visited, and what they thought of their experience, that sort of thing, or doing an e-survey, so sending a link to an e-survey to people whose email addresses had been collected as part of the ticket booking process. So the exact methodology at that point depended to some extent on the systems already in place at the participating theatres. So then once the data was all collected, it's all uploaded and sent to our computers over in London, and we combined all the data together from all the different theatres, and also created the segmentation based on how the data was, well, what it ended up showing, I suppose. So the idea was that we went into the process after stage 1 and 2 having a fairly good sense of how the segmentation would work, but until the data was actually collected, we couldn't be sure that it would work as planned, and we wouldn't be sure exactly some of the finer details of how the segmentation and how the analysis would work. So that analysis stage number 4 is really about testing, did the segmentation model actually make sense in practice? And then, then using it to say how big the segments are and what they all mean. And then finally, the reporting and consultation stage. And there's a little feedback loop between stages 4 and 2, whereby there are a few different stages of the data collection. And what we found in one stage could be fed back into the next stage to make sure that we were always asking the most useful questions. So the questions that we went for covered a variety of themes. We had demographics, so things like the audience's age, gender, and where they live. The frequency of visits, so are they super loyal individuals who visit this particular theatre 20 times a year, or is this their first visit, or do they visit infrequently? Motivations, so what they look to get out of their visit, whether it's a social occasion or more of an academic thing or more of an intellectual approach. Marketing, so theatres could see which forms of marketing are actually effective at bringing people in, but also which forms of marketing are effective at bringing different types of people into the theatre. Then we had questions about the segmentation, which on the surface fit maybe aren't that useful or are slightly esoteric, but they help us to categorize people into different segments. And there were also some questions specifically about theatre night. So the research was carried out during usual seasons of programming, but there was also a wave of research carried out during theatre night itself. And whether the interviews were done during theatre night or at other times, questions were asked about attitudes towards theatre night and how respondents felt theatre night was a useful opportunity to experience things they might not have experienced before, or to go to places that they might not have gone before. And that's what page 1, at least, of the questionnaire might have actually looked like in practice. I think it was on paper 4 sides of paper if printed out, and probably about a 5-minute interview or thereabouts. Okay, so on to the results. Yeah, as I said, I've just pulled out a few. So firstly, this is what the age profile looked like, and this is across the entire project. So this is describing the age profile of the combined audience across all 20 theatres. So if you were to get all 20 theatres audiences and put them all in one giant room together, this is what their age profile would be. And then we are able to look at that country by country. So when we look at it overall, we can get a good shape of the general age profile of European theatre attenders at these selected theatres at least. But then when we break it down country by country, we can see if there are any particularly distinctive characteristics of the audiences within any individual countries. And this is probably my favourite of the graphs that came out of this project out of the hundreds, just because it shows such a distinctive difference between the age profiles of different countries, with Finland having a real peak around the 60 to 69 age group, and most of the others kind of hewing a bit more in the middle, with Croatia and Austria particularly having a bump towards the younger end of the age profile. And also worth bearing in mind that this isn't necessarily saying that all audience members in Finland are old and all audience members in Austria are young. It's very much at the theatres who took part in the project. This is the result. Maybe we would see something similar if we knew about every single theatre in each country. Maybe we would. But yeah, this is a sample of 4 theatres per country. So maybe something to look into in future research. Okay, then we looked at motivation. So this is when we asked, why did you visit the theatre today? And then we presented, I think, about 20 different reasons that people might have visited, and then we grouped them into different categories. So across all countries, social experiences were a prime motivation for visiting. And there are some differences from country to country as well. So in Bulgaria, we see that intellectual reasons for visiting were notably higher than across other countries, and identity being particularly noteworthy in Finland. That's people who say, well, I've just visited the theatre because that's an important part of who I am. Like, theatre is just what I do. That's part of my identity. And Croatia coming out relatively high on that scale too. So we can use this to give us a sense of within our nations, like, fundamentally, why are people visiting our theatres? And then we can see how that maybe differs from segment to segment, which could be useful, which we'll come on to in just a second. And this is the marketing question. How do people find out about their what's going on really at their theatres, and what they heard about this particular what they heard about prior to this particular visit? So we can see direct marketing from the theatres themselves being overwhelmingly the most common way in which people find out about what's going on, and organic organic routes being somewhat present, and word of mouth certainly being quite important, especially in Austria. And just in case you're wondering, because I'll be wondering, you'll see the numbers add up to more than 100% because people could have more than one information source. Okay, and then we asked about some ratings as well. Generally, people are very happy, especially with the quality of performances, less so with food and drink facilities, but to some extent that will be due to the fact that some of the participating theatres have a really strong focus on food and drink facilities, others really don't, and it's not something that they have any particular desire to, or maybe any particular resource to do anything about. So I think these ratings reflect to some extent the the resources on the ground and the emphasis that venues put on different elements of their offer, but overwhelmingly positive stuff. We can also use those ratings to bring a bit of life to our segments to see if certain segments and certain types of people are having a particularly good experience, or more importantly, if there are certain segments that are having a poor experience, that we can then make sure we improve in order to encourage those particular visitors to return. So finally then, the segments themselves, we ended up, once crunching all the data, we ended up with 9 segments. So we're proposing that European theatre audiences fall into these 9 particular groups or types of audience member. There are lots of different ways you could choose to chop up the audience and group them into different types, but the way in which we chose to do so was basing it all on people's preferences in terms of the types of performances that they prefer to see. So on that basis, we ended up with 9 different segments. So here you can see the left-hand column, the green, purple, orange, blue and pink segments. These are all individuals who identify they have a particularly strong preference for certain types of content. And then we have 4 groups on the right hand side: yellow, is that red? Let's call it red. Yellow, red, bluey green and brown. And these segments are all segments who have, they don't show a particularly strong preference towards particular types of performance, but they do have other characteristics that make them distinctive, such as the genres which they go to, whether they go to very mainstream or very niche types of performances, and whether they have a very broad interest, like they like watching all different sorts of genres and art forms, or whether they tend to stick to just 1 or 2 types of performance. So we have these 9 segments, and for each of them we have a pen portrait, which is a short description of what that segment is. So I've just picked out contemporaries here. So they are, broadly speaking, or rather the thing that makes them contemporaries and puts them in that segment is the fact they have a stronger preference for new work than anything else, and they also prefer to have lots of information before they visit the theatre. So they make up 8% of European theatre audiences, and we can see some secondary characteristics of theirs as well. So we can see that they are more likely to live locally to the theatre that they visit. They use a relatively wide range of information sources. They have a higher frequency of attendance. They see themselves as theatre people, so it's part of their identity. They're more likely to be female. So these are all things which don't determine whether or not an individual falls into this segment, but they're things which, if you are in this segment, you're more likely to be female. You're more likely to see yourself as a theatre person. So these are all ways in which we can understand the segment, and we can use these as first steps for devising strategies to reaching more contemporaries, or the contemporaries that we already have in our audience. These might indicate strategies for increasing how often they visit, or giving them more of what they want, or introducing them to things which they don't currently do so much. So each of the segments has a pen portrait like this to help actually use the segmentation. And then just finally, the sizes of the segments. This is how they broke breakdown at the end. So the biggest segment across Europe and indeed at the Zagreb venues was mainstreamers, which makes sense. They're interested in mainstream things, more popular things, so it makes sense that that's going to be a bigger group. Whereas other groups such as explorers, who are kind of open to a wide range of things, but have particular interests, are going to be a smaller segment. So these segment breakdowns are available at the project level, and also at national level, and also at theatre level. So each of the participating theatres has a record of their segments, how big they are in their audience, and the whole methodology is designed that it can be relatively easily reused and used over time to see, perhaps you change your marketing strategy, and then you can see if your segment profile changes as a result of that. So if you want to attract more classicists, you might put on more classic, well-known plays, and then you would hopefully see that in your audience you are finding a larger proportion of them are indeed classicists. Or if not, then you can go back to the drawing board and figure out what you might need to do differently to encourage them. So that's a really quick whistle-stop tour of the research and where we ended up. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop me an email or pop a question in the chat. And yeah, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Daniel, so much for presenting our results and our actually project accomplishments. We, for a wider audience, we have, like Dan said, profiles for all of our 9 segments and also results for all countries. This is just a short overview of the results for this expert meeting, and later on Michal will present our book, our project publication, in which you could find more details about all other results. Now I would like to welcome our project partners, representatives of our project partners from Finland, Austria, Czech Republic, and I'm from Croatia, and I would like to invite our project partners to say a few words about this, what I would say, the subject beyond pure results. What were our the most important insights and benefits of doing this project, and did it help us, and what have we learned from implementing this project? First, I would give a word to Gerald Grönig. He's the managing director of IG Kultur Österreich and the main coordinator of European Theatre Night in Austria. From 2003 till 2013, he was director of the Department of Culture of the city of Villach. He is the ASSET coordinator from Austria. Hello, Gerald. Nice to see you.
Hello. Selim ti lijep dobar dan. Drago mi je što mogu biti tamo danas. And that's the only one I'm speaking in Croatian today.
You're good.
Thank you very much. It's great for me to be part of this meeting here. I'm telling a little bit about what's now in Austria. We heard a lot from Martina and Dan. Thank you very much about the project and the various phases of the project. And I will speak what we are now doing in Austria and what are the results in Austria. You know, in Austria, IG Kultur Österreich was the coordinator. And IG Kultur Österreich is an umbrella organization of nearly 900, now we are nearly 900 members. When we began with ASSET, we had only 850, but the pandemic brought us 40 new members. And that was our information system, because in this pandemic, we had every week new regulations and laws and all what's going on. And my great colleagues in the office of IG Kultur, they were sitting day and night. And when there were a new regulation, some hours later, all our members knew what's the results for them, for their cultural work. And this IG Kultur has the aims are to have and contact to the political culture. And we also want to protect the cultural workers and the cultural initiatives. And for that reason, we also tried some years ago to be part of some of these research projects. And only to say, because Dan said we have such a young audience, I can tell you a friend of mine visited some days ago a concert, a rock concert in Salzburg. I think it was the bass player of Rory Gallagher. And I think the members there, the audience there, were a lot older as the Finnish people in the theater. I think he was the youngest and he's in my age. That doesn't say anything, because where we had such a young audience, as IG Kultur Austria is an umbrella organization for independent, autonomous cultural initiatives, associations, organizations, we selected 4 Vienna theaters with a great effort to these cultural organizations. And for that reason, of course, they are making new things. They're making avant-garde things, and they had young audiences. And for that reason, it cannot be said the Finnish audiences are others, or the others they have their own audiences. But what are the great results of this research? And now I want to share my, yes. Does it freigeben? Just a moment. Yeah, okay. You can see we made this research, and this is the next Thursday, and now we're presenting it in all federal states in Austria. This is the next Thursday. We are in Kristallwerk Graz, which is a theater there. We had some performances before, and there are some we're following. And what's a great pleasure for me, you will see it also, that it's not, this is in Vorarlberger Landestheater, we made it in September. It's for all who are working with audiences. Our aim is to motivate all who are working in cultural sectors to learn about their audiences, and this asset project is really a great help to do this. We had in Salzburg, we had 50 people from cultural organizations who took part in this presentation. In Vorarlberg, there were nearly 40. And what's a great pleasure for me, and you will see, these are these presentations. This is from Vorarlberg in Bregenz. It was in the State Theater in Bregenz. And the great for me is, you see here Salzburg and Bregenz, it's also a collaboration of the great state theaters with the independent organizations. They are inviting together and they are hearing together, and that's also to create a new kind of networking, because to create new public, new audiences, and to bring more people to theater, it's they all want the same. And now they're also continuing to work together. And you see, we made this in Salzburg, in Vorarlberg. Next week, I'm in Carinthia, also in the State Theater of Carinthia. Then I'm going to Styria. And we also, the State Theater in the region of Niederösterreich, it's planned in January, and also Tyrol in Innsbruck. And Wien and Upper Austria we're also discussing when we are doing it. And what we also do on our homepage of IG Kultur, we are presenting all results. And our members also can take the questionnaires there. They can see what were the questions and what are the thinking behind this as a project. And they're invited to use it for themselves. And they're also invited to create own projects. For example, we are also in Salzburg, we are planning, also with the help of the audience agency, to make a following project with the Salzburg associations, and there may be 20, 25 members who want to participate in this. And that's I think that is the great result, that we motivate people to think about their audience. And as we all know, that the number of audiences now is not racing. We have nearly the half until to the half loss of audience after the pandemic. 30% is very sure. Some have more than the half. And to see and to learn about audiences is the great result of this. And hopefully, these were the asset meetings we had at the beginning, and these were the asset meetings we had at the end. And hopefully, we can continue in live conferences and not in this like we had it before. This Zoom meetings, because I see our meetings with the artists and with the organizers in the associations. We have to develop ideas, to develop new projects, and this needs to have a face-to-face communication and not only Zoom communication. Yeah, this is to tell about Austria. I'm very lucky that we had the possibility to take part in this great project, and I'm also looking forward to new projects and the new collaborations with all of you. And best wishes from Vienna to Zagreb and to all our colleagues in Croatia.
Thank you so much, Gerald, for telling us what are your plans with our project results in Austria. I would like to welcome Katri Halonen. Katri, was I right in pronouncing your last name? Katri works as a principal lecturer of cultural production at the Metropolitan University of Applied Sciences located in Helsinki. She has over 20 years of experience with different areas of experience economy as a teacher, practice-based developer, and researcher. She has specialized in intermediary professions in the creative sector. Hello, Katri.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a great pleasure, and I'm really honored to be here. I thought I shared some of the notions I made, or some of the kind of surprises that came on learning to know my audience. It's quite often that you have to see your own surroundings through the eye of somebody else. And I think the asset has been a very, very good in giving an other side to something we think is normal. Like we thought it's very normal that the whole audience has gray hair, that there is nobody below 50 years old, that it's to us, theater is more of a senior citizens people place to go. And it was really surprising to see how you succeed to get young audiences. And that has been really, really great kind of, it's leading into very different paths. We have a very wide range of audience development programs in Finland. And by law, they have to use some of the money all the time to the audience development. But something happens once they get out of the universities and not under the audience development anymore. They don't come to theaters. So what we found out and learned from your theaters is that you are really building a larger experience. It's meaningful what kind of food is served before the theater or around the theater experience. To us, it's been all about the programming and having loyal customers that they can get easily to the theater, and they like the programming and they like the actors and so on. But now we are looking more into kind of these extracurricular activities around the theater about what kind of food, is it vegan, is it kind of a food, and what kind of drinks, and all that we are looking more into, which is leading us to this larger experience area. And at the same time, I think one of the findings that was really interesting to us is that our audience is, although they are elderly people, they get most of the information through internet. So we have been kind of maybe childish to think that that the marketing is okay. And now we are really realizing that the forums of internet are changing for the young people in every month. So once it's TikTok this time, next month it's something else, and we are not putting enough effort in sticking along with that. We are marketing in a very old-fashioned way, having web pages and very traditional social media. So that's another thing that we have found out. And also that since the young people are big customers of culture, and there's a lot of competition to get them to cultural events. There is so much, and you can always stay home and look at the Netflix, and so there's a great competition. So we are now really waking up to the reality that we have to either be partners with some of the kind of the successors that are taking a lot of the time from the youth, maybe the gaming industry, for example, or the VR realities, or there we have to compete them with very, very good experience economy ideas. So that kind of things really opened or came to me after this project. It's been a really, really privileged and eye-opening thing that I have been able to be along with you people in this asset. I've learned a lot.
Thank you, Katri, so much. I would like to welcome Martina Peckova-Černa again, together with Michal Laznovski. I will say a bit more about Michal later on. For now, I will just say that he's in charge of the Department of Theatre Management at the Theatre Faculty of Academy of Performing Arts in Prague. I would like to ask you, Martina and Michal, to tell us a few words on not the overall, the project in general, but of your experiences of implementing the project activities in Prague. Thank you.
Hello. Martina, it's your right to start if you wish.
I spoke a lot, so I will try to be short and give you enough space, Michal. Maybe just a short comment on what was said by Katri and Gerald. Of course, the project is finished. There are some results which can be used in the future. But the topic stays with here today, and it's probably much more urgent than it had to been when we started the ASSET project. I think it's a similar experience in all our countries that numbers of audiences, although the lockdown is over temporarily, is dropping, and that we need audience development much more than before, and therefore I think it's very valuable that we have all this experience from all the process, starting with existing data mapping, to surveys, to data evaluation, to implementation of results. We lived in the ASSET project, and we can use it further on in collaboration with theaters who would like to foster and develop their relation with their audiences in the future. Of course, we discussed as the pandemics was something what was not planned, and it was of course not expected in the project. So we discussed during the project implementation how to include all this situation into the project, and we decided not to break the schedule and the methodology of the project with this fact that the pandemic jumped into the middle of the project implementation. But of course, we are aware of the fact that a new theater audience research would be very much needed, and we would need to map and research how far the relation between theaters and their audiences has been broken by the pandemic. So this is something what is to be discussed in the future, and of course this is something what could be processed through a new project. But I wanted to mention yet one thing which I find very interesting. We had a panel discussion with the ASSET theaters during the May conference in Prague. And we found out that even though there was the pandemic and there were restrictions and there was lockdown of cultural organizations, certain measures have been implemented already in theaters. So we saw that some theaters started to work with the price of their tickets. Some theaters changed completely the communication in social media with their audiences or in their online presentation. Some theaters they discovered that they were completely wrong about their imagination, what their audiences were. So I think there are some tangible results of the projects and effects of the project. But of course, we have a lot of work in front of us if we want to work on audience development and relations with our audiences in the future.
I will add just a few thoughts maybe, but Martina said a lot about the situation in Prague. Of course, the COVID situation was something we did not expect, but which did emphasize the importance of the work with the audience. So I think we were pretty lucky here in Prague with the choice of the theaters. They were all very collaborative, and we had a decent choice of different types of theaters, public and also private, and different types of theaters. So we got quite a nice idea about the Prague audiences. And I think the reward was for the theaters that they did learn something very detailed about their audience before they actually lost it for the pandemic. Hopefully they won't lose it, because the situation here in the Czech Republic is also getting pretty dramatic as well. But we still have audiences, and we hope we will keep them and get more and more to know about them, who they are and what they appreciate. We are planning to go more in details in our department through the following researches on audiences. Our PhD students, Eva Zavřelová, who also contributed in the publication and in the research, is also researching the detailed motivation of audiences and audience members, and we seek to understand the motivations and the audience and theater goers even in more bigger detail, let's say. I think a lot that we learned here in Prague, at least, was what the theaters expected, what they felt was right. But also there were some surprising findings, and I think and what the theaters evaluated is they really are now even more interested in getting to know their audiences. So the logical next steps we want to do is to spread the word, to promote the importance of audience research, and we want to approach the partners at the municipality and also on the state level to help promote the importance of audience research throughout the Czech Republic, and to conduct more research in other places in the Czech Republic and on the national level, perhaps in the future. So that's what we learned and what was the plan for the future here in Prague. Thank you.
Thank you, Martina. Thank you, Michal, from Croatian side for Zagreb partners, Narodno sveučilište Dubrava. I would say a few words. a few of my findings during and implementing this project. First of all, I would like to thank to all our Zagreb theaters which helped us to implement these activities and were with us during this period. Those are Theater Gavela, Zagreb Dance Center, Comedy Club Studio Smijeha, Theater Luda Kuća, Zagreb Youth Theater, Histrionski dom, Theater Exit, Student Theater Ivan Goran Kovačić, and City Theater Komedija. These are all theaters in which we did surveys and worked with our audiences. For me, my project experience led me to the conclusion that, okay, we have results and we can now say that we know something about our audiences. We know maybe a lot on audience structure before this pandemic, a bit less about the structure of our audiences during the pandemic situation. But the most important thing in this process, I think, was the work with audiences on the spot. In Zagreb, we did almost in all theaters paper surveys. So except of one theater who did online surveys, we actually did paper once face-to-face with audience members. And because there were a lot of questions in these surveys, we really had to work with the people in theater halls. And being on the first line, doing that with the audience members, actually made me realize that we did not only do expert research that has some results, but we also did a concrete work with people. We had to explain the questions, we had to listen to their answers, and we had to help them go to this process. And the things that we learned from this direct work with people were as important as the results are, because these are giving us hopes that and actually these are the real proofs that people, our audience members, are interested in saying what they think about theater, what they think about theater facilities, what they think about theater performances, that we really have people that are willing to give us their opinion, and that our job is also to listen to what our audience has to say, and that these processes are really closely connected one to another. So, and that our responsibility is to follow our audience, to know or try to find out who they are, but also to work with them, to speak with them, and to plan our theater programs in close connection to what our audience thinks about them, and that we have to, in a way, grow together, theaters and their audiences in those connected processes. So this is from our Zagreb side, my experiences as being on a first project line here in Zagreb. And now, to conclude this first part of our expert meeting, I would like to welcome again Michal Laznovski. Michal is a graduate of doctoral studies at the Theatre Faculty of Academy of Performing Arts in Prague, and his career is still closely tied with his alma mater. From 2001 till 2017, he's been exercising his profession as a managing director of Faculty Theatre Disc. From 2008 till present days, he's in charge of the Department of Theatre Management at the Theatre Faculty of Academy of performing arts in Prague. As a researcher and teacher, he focused on theory of strategic management of theater institutions and management of projects and events in the field of performing arts. He also defended his PhD on this subject matter in the beginning of 2015. Michal, I'm kindly asking you to present one of our, I would say, biggest results is our project publication that summarized the whole project effort, process, and also results. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here as well. Yes, this is the moment to reveal the publication that has not been published yet, has not been presented in public. So it's my great honor to present it to this kind audience. Before I do that, I need to give the great credits to all my colleagues that participated in creating the publication. Many of them have been mentioned here or are here, but we don't have Jonathan Gudecker from the audience agency, whom I want to thank in the first place, who contributed most to the publication. But there were 12 co-authors of the publication that I also want to thank. I will show their names in a few seconds in the publication, so I won't call them by names. But I also want to mention other contributors. More than 20 theaters were part of the project as well, and each of them had their team cooperating with us, which I want to thank them for. And they also contributed to the publication with their share. So you reminded me, I will also name the theaters from Prague that participated in the project. It was a national theatre, Švandovo divadlo, the municipal theatre, Jatka 78, which is one of the leading alternative theatres, and Studio 2, which is one of the leading theatres in the private segment. So now I will introduce the publication, which has 181 pages, which is in color. It has pictures, and here it comes. So I hope you see the screen, and this is our publication, our baby, the biggest achievement probably of this project, of the audience segmentation system in Europe theaters project. The publication is called The Audience in Center Stage, which is our motto of the project. As I mentioned, 12 authors participated. You can see them here: Jonathan Gudecker, Martina Pecková-Černá, but also Barbara White, Eva Zavřelová, Viktoria Šmorancová, Katry Halonen, Nina Torko, Gerald Gröchening, Sandra Naumovský, Katerina Kirova Milanova, and Maria Panayotova have contributed greatly to this book. We also definitely need to thank those who helped us with producing the publication, which is my university, the Academy of Performing Arts. But the project could not happen without co-financing by the Creative Europe program of the European Union, and also the Ministry of Culture of Czech Republic was a great help in achieving this. So I won't mention the partners. They've been mentioned several times, and they of course listed in the publication. I will now take you very briefly through the structure of the publication and highlight one of the things, and will not consume more of the time of today's meeting. But the book is structured in a linear logic, let's say. Of course, we start with explaining what was the genesis or the reasons for the project to start and what were its aims. And right away, then we, mainly the audience agency, shares very openly the methodology of the segmentation and the audience research we used, and I will get back to it. And then the next parts of the books are dedicated to the case studies in each of the countries. So is the Czech Republic, Finland, Austria, Croatia, and Bulgaria. As Martina mentioned earlier, also the Theatre Nights chapter is part of the publication, as it we conducted a specific research during the Theatre Nights in some of the theatres and some of the countries where it was, or all of the countries involved in the project, but some of the theatres or projects that were relevant to the Theatre Nights topic. Of course, the conclusions and recommendations are also included in the end of the book. I won't probably go through the book page by page, but I will take you to a quick way through it. And if you don't mind, I will maybe just as an example show you the part of the second chapter of the methodology, which I find very, very much useful and probably the most ready to use part of the book, which is the results of the methodology, where you can find the segments and their definition, which we've already heard about from Daniel. And in this part of the book, you can in detail see and go through the methodology of segmentation, and it could be used as a ready-to-use recipe for your own little segmentation if you wish to use it in your case, in your theaters, in your cities, or in your countries. To conclude with, you might be interested in where to get hands on the publication. The publication will be available online after the official presentations of the publication in all partner countries. So in a few days or weeks, you can reach our website, which is www.assetforarts.eu, where the publication will be available. Or you can just follow our Facebook page, Asset for Arts, and wait a bit longer for the public release of the publication. So this is just a brief presentation of the publication. I hope it will be of use to at least some of you or some of the creators and theaters around Europe. And thank again for this opportunity to present the publication here at this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michal. Thank you. I would like to thank all of you partners for being here with us today, and also for being here for us and being together for these 3 years that we took in doing this project. Now I will switch to Croatian. If you would like to stay with us, you can switch on interpretation to English. Thank you so much. Dragi svi, prvi dio našeg stručnog skupa je završio. S obzirom da smo malo prešli vremenske okvire koje smo predvidjeli za prvi dio skupa, nastavit ćemo dalje bez pauze. Dakle, drugi dio skupa održavamo na hrvatskom jeziku. Nadam se i vjerujem da ste stvorili sliku o projektu Audience Segmentation System in European Theatres koje smo posljednje 3 godine radili s našim evropskim partnerima. Kao što je Mihael rekao, publikacija će kroz koji tjedan biti javno dostupna nakon što se predstavi u svim partnerskim zemljama. Naravno, ukoliko imate pitanja za nekog od današnjih predavača, svoja pitanja možete postaviti u chatu, rado ćemo na njih odgovoriti na kraju današnjeg stručnog skupa. A u njegovom drugom dijelu razgovarat ćemo o drugim inicijativama u Republici Hrvatskoj i drugim istraživačkim projektima u polju rada s publikama i drugim spoznajama koje u Republici Hrvatskoj imamo o kazališnoj publici i osobito onom segmentu kako pandemija utječe i mislimo li da ova izazovna situacija organiziranja izvedbene i kazališne djelatnosti, ali i svih izvedbenih umjetnosti u ovim vremenima hoće li promijeniti publiku. U ovom dijelu stručnog skupa najprije bih voljela pozdraviti gospođu Maju Zrnčić, voditeljicu programa Ruksak pun kulture ispred Ministarstva kulture i medija Republike Hrvatske. Gospođo Majo Zrnčić, iznimna nam je čast da ste danas ovdje s nama i da nam možete reći nekoliko riječi o programima koje Ministarstvo kulture i medija radi, koje zadnjih godina znači provodi, a koje nam svima u sektoru značajno pomažu da razvijamo, promišljamo, razvijamo, a onda oni uspješni i provedu svoje programe razvoja publike. Izvolite.
Dobar dan svima i zahvaljujem vam naravno na pozivu jer sam eto i prije, čini mi se, ne znam sad, 2 godine bila na onom vašem susretu u Dubravi kada ste predstavljali cijelu priču i kad je cijela priča vaša ova lijepa bila tek na početku. Sada je negdje, rekla bih, možda sa ovom vašom publikacijom za neke na kraju, međutim ja se nadam za nas u Hrvatskoj da nikako nije na kraju, nego da je u stvari to tek početak neke vaše diseminacije, tako da i ostali djelatnici u ne samo kazališnom području, nego uopće u području kulture na neki način budu na dobitku zbog ovoga čime ste se vi bavili i da ćete se potruditi da ta diseminacija bude što bolja na korist svima nama. Pa ja moram reći, dakle ja sam voditeljica programa za djecu i mlade Ruksak pun kulture i moram reći da svakodnevno uživam u tom programu, eto otkad je on počeo, ali isto tako i vodim javni poziv za razvoj publike. Međutim, moram naglasiti za sve one koji ovo slušaju, ja zapravo administriram taj program i taj poziv i moje iskustvo je takvo iskustvo, dakle ja nisam teoretičar, teatrolog, ne bavim se samo kazalištem, bavim se umjetničkim i kulturnim programima za djecu i mlade, što je naravno za razvoj publike itekako važno i presudno, pa eto iz te pozicije zapravo nekakvog administriranja programa razvoja publike ću vam reći nekoliko riječi, a moram reći da se jako, jako veselim iščitavanju ove vaše publikacije, jedva čekam zapravo da eto vi završite sa svojim prezentiranjem pa da ona dođe i i do nas. Ja ću reći nekoliko riječi o našem pozivu Ministarstva kulture za predlaganje programa koji potiču razvoj publike u kulturi i na kraju ću reći i onoliko koliko mogu i koliko znam o toj budućnosti razvoja publike u Hrvatskoj, odnosno o tome koliko je li pandemija promijenila našu publiku. Ali evo rekla bih ovako, dakle 2017. godine smo započeli sa pilot programom koji potiče razvoj publike u kulturi. Naravno u tom našem javnom pozivu dali smo i nekakvu definiciju, bih rekla, što je to za nas razvoj publike, dakle aktivnosti koje se poduzimaju da bi se nekom dodatnom potporom, to je ta financijska potpora koju Ministarstvo kulture daje i medija i princip na kojem mi funkcioniramo, da bi se tom dodatnom potporom poticalo sudjelovanje u kulturi i umjetnosti i zapravo ispunile neke potrebe i interesi postojeće publike i one nekakve nove. Samo bih kratko rekla digresiju da je zapravo neposredno pred objavu prvi puta tog našeg poziva javno, koji je bio kao pilot tada, je počela sa radom, sa svojim aktivnostima su počeli programi Rijeke 2020, dakle Europske prestolnice kulture, i nekoliko dana prije našeg, što smo objavili naš poziv, u Rijeci je organiziran jedan odličan seminar trodnevni, dakle jedna edukacija, aplauz molim, o tome možete one koje interesira naći još i na internetu nešto. Naime, već i sama prestolnica Rijeka 2020 je shvatila zapravo da je razvoj publike jedna od nekakvih, možemo reći, jako važnih tema danas i oni su se eto tome i okrenuli, tako da je to bio jedan zgodan uvod zapravo u ono što će slijediti što se tiče naših poziva, a isto tako znam da su neki koji su tamo bili izlagači i bili uključeni i kod vas, čini mi se da je to bio gospodin Jonathan Gudeir, mislim, jel tako, i sad ne znam da li je bila Alessandra Garibaldi, Kristina da Milano ili Agata Edmanović, ali dakle i vi ste se nekako vjerojatno u tom smislu i nastavili. Dakle, to je bilo namijenjeno, bilo je negdje 90-ak sudionika i zanimljivo je to da su se oni prijavili, koji su tamo bili jedan značajan dio njih na naš poziv, nisu svi naravno dobili potporu, a ono što je meni bilo zanimljivo, što mi je danas zapravo zanimljivo i voljela bih da me se u tome demantira, jedino HNK Ivan Plemeniti Zajec u Rijeci u svojim kontaktima ima voditeljicu razvoja publike, Katarinu Mažuran-Jurešić, oni su tada bili isto prisutni na toj edukaciji. Ja ne znam da li je još jedno kazalište se time pozabavilo na tako ozbiljan način na koji to oni rade. No dobro, naravno naših skromnih 1 milijun kuna za taj prvi pilot poziv je zaista skromno, ali eto, imali smo jako puno prijava, 587, dali smo samo 28 potpora, ali zaista su se sve realizirale i to je stvarno bilo jako uspješno što se tiče nas za tih 28. Ono što nam je bilo jako važno i što mislim da trebam naglasiti, to da smo mi nakon tog pilot programa imali nekoliko sastanak sa povjerenstvom gdje smo zapravo izmjenjivali dijelove poziva i prijavnica kako bismo nekako uskladili potrebe naših prijavitelja s onim što smo mi željeli napraviti s razvojem publike. Nadamo se da smo poboljšali te prijave i da smo olakšali prijaviteljima da se jave. Napravili smo čak i jednu orijentacijsku radionicu. Zašto to sve govorim? Zato što smatram da je edukacija što se tiče razvoja publike za Hrvatsku, neću govoriti o drugim zemljama jer to zaista ne znam, to vi eto ćete nam pokazati u vašem priručniku, je zaista jako, jako važna i to je način da dođemo do nekakvih, recimo to tako, pomaka. U 2019. smo povećali iznos na 2 milijuna kuna, imali smo nešto manje prijavljenih, ali smo dali puno više potpora, 78, u 2020. isto, negdje malo više, 87, međutim, znate, sad dolazi ta bila pandemijska godina i ne samo pandemijska godina u Hrvatskoj, ja bih naše strane slušatelje podsjetila i potres u Hrvatskoj. Dakle, dva lockdowna, potres, mislim stvarno je bilo jako napeto i još uvijek je posebno iznimno u Hrvatskoj. Međutim, što se tiče realizacije tih programa razvoja publike, oni zapravo jako dobro idu, ja mislim da će oni biti 100% realizirani, ne u onom vremenskom periodu u kojem su možda planirali oni koji su kad su se prijavljivali, ali će biti. Bilo je nekih izmjena, bilo je nekih prilagodbi na koje smo mi naravno pristali jer se dogodila pandemija. Međutim, ja mislim da moramo i dalje inzistirati, a to je bilo rečeno i ovdje neko je govorio o izravnom radu sa publikom, da zapravo moramo što manje imati na mreži, online razvoja publike, a što više uživo, naravno koliko nam je to moguće u ovom vremenu u kojem jesmo. U 2021. smo promijenili program razvoja publike u poticanje i razvoj čitateljske publike jer je u Hrvatskoj proglašena godina čitanja. Međutim, to nije nevažno za uopće razvoj publike, pa i kazališne publike, jer znamo da bez čitanja nema niti kazališne publike. I evo 5.11. završen je naš novi stari poziv za razvoj publike, imamo ove godine 555 prijavljenih programa, pa ćemo vidjeti, evo to je dakle bilo prije nekoliko dana, pa ćemo vidjeti kakvi su programi i što ćemo s njima dalje. Ja bih samo još, ne znam koliko imam vremena, recite mi još, mogu li još nekoliko stvari reći?
Možete, slobodno.
Može, dobro.
Možete.
Dakle, htjela bih samo naglasiti da je obično oko pola tih potpora koje dajemo za razvoj publike namijenjeno programima za djecu i mlade ili ranjivim skupinama. Moram reći da nitko do sada nije odustao od realizacije programa. Jedna od dobrih strana našeg programa je ta da je potpora određena minimalno i maksimalno, pa je to jako važno da ne dolazi do nikakvog usitnjavanja toga. Dakle, to smo vidjeli da je dobro za realizaciju programa razvoja publike, da naš javni poziv ide u nekoliko područja: kazalište, mediji, film, ples, književnost, glazba, vizualna umjetnost, muzeji, interdisciplinarni programi. To nam se isto čini važno i ono o čemu ćemo ove godine jako voditi računa, o čemu do sad nismo toliko i nismo bili strogi u toj odrednici, a to je opis predviđenog učinka koji svaki program treba imati, služeći se kvalitativnim podacima, znači da se navodi ciljna dobna skupina, geografsko područje, navike posjećivanja kulturnih i umjetničkih programa i sudjelovanja u njima, i kvantitativna, dakle da se navode brojčani podaci, odnosno nekakvi pokazatelji i pokušati se opisati kako će program utjecati brojčano na razvoj publike. Zašto to naglašavam? Zato što se, kako Ministarstvo kulture ima jako puno poziva, negdje oko 30, a pri tome su i gostovanja, kazališna gostovanja, onda se nekako ovaj program dosta u početku brkao s tim gostovanjima. Kao što vi sami kao stručnjaci u tom području znate, razvoj publike nisu gostovanja, nego nešto puno kompleksnije i puno složenije bih rekla. Tako da, evo, nadamo se da ćemo tu analizu itekako imati. Istaknula bih još jednu aktivnost koja nije vezana samo uz Hrvatsku, nego je više vezana regionalno, a to je akcija regionalne mreže za razvoj i afirmaciju teatra za djecu i mlade, dakle koja se isto bavi razvojem publike. Taj program se zove Od malih nogu i prošle godine je bila jedna jako zanimljiva konferencija. Ja vjerujem, oni imaju svoju stranicu, možete ju posjetiti i vidjeti što se tamo radi. Ono što bih posebno naglasila, da ja zaista mislim da nema razvoja publike ako nema ulaganja u najmlađu publiku i ako umjetnost i kultura nisu dostupne. Dakle, nećemo imati publike ako ne odgajamo ovu mladu i najmlađu. U tom smislu mislim da je stvarno program Ministarstva kulture i medija Ruksak pun kulture na dobrom putu, jer on osim svih ovih područja koje sam nabrojala i u razvoju publike, osim interdisciplinarnih, posebnu pažnju posvećuje i kazalištu i razvoju kazališne publike, naravno mislim na djecu i mlade, a i na dostupnost da u dislocirana područja dolaze recentne i predstave i svi drugi kulturno i umjetnički programi, dakle koje stručnjaci u tom području provode. Što se tiče budućnosti razvoja publike u Hrvatskoj, ja mislim da je sve zapravo u rukama neke dobro organizirane edukacije onih koji rade na tome, i da je evo ovo što ste vi sad napravili jako dobro došlo i moje nade su u tome da će ovakvih projekata biti puno više, a i da ćete vi sad razviti jednu mrežu edukacije u tom području. Što se tiče pandemije, naravno da je ona promijenila našu publiku i ne samo kazališnu publiku nego i drugu, ali ono u čemu vidim rješenje je dati kazališnoj publici osjećaj sigurnosti, jer bez osjećaja sigurnosti ljudi neće dolaziti u kazalište i mislim da je to jako važno. Evo sad su kazališta uvela i COVID potvrde, ne bih ulazila sad u razne etičke, moralne, ovakve i onakva pitanja koja su uz to vezana, ali mislim nažalost to je naša stvarnost i mislim da ćemo ju morati podržavati. Mislim da će se sada puno više, da će zapravo krenuti jedna borba za publiku, ali borba u pozitivnom smislu te riječi. Naravno, tu su u jednom posebnom položaju je nezavisna scena, koji su zaista, mislim, svi koji su na plaći su ipak na plaći, teško im je, ne rade dovoljno. Ako umjetnik ne radi, onda znamo da ni ne postoji. Dakle, svima je u tom smislu jednako teško, ali ovaj ekonomski moment i egzistencijalni moment je strašan, jer mi imamo nekih malih privatnih kazališta koja imaju po 40-ak mjesta i s obzirom na to da su morali prepoloviti publiku, pa zamislite koju oni cijenu ulaznice, a ulaznice su između 50 i 70 kuna, pa oni ne mogu ni glumce s tim platiti, ali bore se. Dakle, mislim da taj osjećaj sigurnosti moramo smisliti na najbolji način i da ćemo na taj način vratiti vjerojatno publiku, jer mislim potreba za umjetnosti, za kazalištem, za kultura je esencijalna potreba čovjeka, on bez toga ne može živjeti i ne možemo mu to nikako uskratiti, a vjerujem da ćemo naći načina da to evo nekako riješimo. Ja se nadam da nisam bila preduga, da sam rekla možda neke korisne stvari ili eto vas informirala o onome što radimo u Ministarstvu kulture vezano uz razvoj publike.
Gospođo Zrnčić, najljepša vam hvala što ste danas s nama i što ste nam evo predstavili programe i povezali nekako ova dva programa kojima Ministarstvo kulture i medija evo cilja na rad sa publikom, što kroz razvoj, to kroz omogućavanje dostupnosti. To su uvijek hvale vrijedne informacije, osobito u ovako neposrednom okruženju izravno. Dalje bih predstavila docenticu, doktoricu znanosti Ivu Buljubašić, koja je naša sljedeća panelistica. Gospođa Buljubašić trenutačno radi kao docentica na Akademiji za umjetnost i kulturu u Osijeku na Odjelu za kulturu, medije i menadžment, te također kao DBA mentorica Švicarske škole poslovanja i menadžmenta u Ženevi. Stekla je doktorat 2015. godine na temi nekonvencionalnog marketinga u institucijama kulture u Republici Hrvatskoj na Ekonomskom fakultetu u Osijeku, te je tako i postala najmlađa doktorica znanosti u povijesti postojanja Osječkog sveučilišta. Godine 2017. imala je vlastiti kolegij pod nazivom Gerila marketing komunikacije na Fakultetu elektroničkih medija u Stuttgartu. Godine 2018. vodila je studente Akademije za umjetnost i kulturu u Osijeku u marketing kampanju za Landesmuseum Württemberg, jesam li dobro rekla, ispravit ćete me ako nisam, u Stuttgartu, za koji su studenti dobili rektorovu nagradu sveučilišta u Osijeku, te iste godine dobila financijsku potporu za svoj znanstveno istraživački rad istraživanja razvoja publike u kazalištima od sveučilišta u Osijeku u kategoriji mladih istraživača. Tijekom znanstvenog djelovanja dobila je međunarodne znanstvene stipendije od Robert Bosch zaklade za Ulm Danube School for Arts Management Bavarskog ministarstva znanosti i umjetnosti za znanstveno usavršavanje na sveučilištu Einstettu, Ingolstadtu i Međunarodnog sveučilišta poslovanja i ekonomije u Šangaju. Gospođo Buljubašić, također drago nam je da ste s nama. Evo, željno iščekujemo vaše izlaganje. Ono će predstaviti dva također istraživačka rada u polju kazališne publike u ovim pandemijskim uvjetima. Izvolite.
Evo, puno hvala na ovom lijepom uvodu i srdačan pozdrav svima. Bilo mi jako lijepo slušati i prijašnji isto izlagače. Evo, sada ću podijeliti svoju prezentaciju. Evo ga, samo mi recite da li se vidi. Ok, se vidi, sve ok. Dobro. Evo ga, kao što je već zapravo bilo najavljeno, evo, hvala vam još jednom isto na ovome pozivu, jako mi je drago biti s vama. Ja ću zapravo danas nešto malo više reći zapravo o istraživanjima, imam jedan malo i filozofski nekakav uvod i za kraj ću onda zapravo reći kako zapravo ja vidim nekakvu tu budućnost zapravo samoga razvoja publike. Pa evo, zapravo kad sam malo razmišljala kako ću napraviti ovu prezentaciju, palo mi je na pamet zapravo šta bi bio COVID i za razvoj publike i za samo kazalište, i to je zapravo kako sam napisala nekakav virus koji je pozornicu za predstavu mutiranog scenarija pronašao u čovjeku i zapravo u nama. Pitanje koje se zapravo svi pitamo, da li je pandemija zapravo, mijenja li pandemija našu publiku, apsolutno i svakako, u više vrsta segmenata. I zapravo i kakav utjecaj pandemije ima na institucije kulture i publiku. Mi se sada više orijentiramo na kazališnu publiku, ali naravno da i ostale institucije kulture se bore sa istim problemom. I zapravo koji je došao taj utjecaj? Taj utjecaj je došao na to da smo morali se svi resetirati zapravo na nekakve tvorničke postavke, i mi kao publika i zapravo institucije kulture koje žele privući tu samu publiku. Sve se moralo promijeniti iz temelja i moralo je doći neke izraze velike fleksibilnosti kako bi se mogli prilagoditi ovoj trenutačnoj situaciji koja i naravno i dalje traje. Sada, zapravo znanstveno istraživanja na temu kazalište publike, prikazat ću vam dva istraživanja. Jedno istraživanje sam sama ja vodila sa svojim kolegama na Ekonomskom fakultetu u Osijeku i također na Akademiji za umjetnost i kulturu, gdje sam trenutačno radim. Kolege na Ekonomskom fakultetu su profesori iz statistike, također isto iz kulturnih dijelova znanosti, i još profesor isto sa Akademije za umjetnost i kulturu, profesor Bobić, koji je također dobio Porina za album u kategoriji same klasične glazbe. I također drugo istraživanje će biti o tome koje sam zapravo ja sudjelovala u tome i bilo mi jako zanimljivo, također je zapravo napravljeno od jednog kazališta gdje sam zapravo ja i sudjelovala. I bilo mi je zanimljivo zapravo prezentirati zato što je dio ove teme. Prvo istraživanje zapravo učinak COVID-a na kazališnu publiku, koje je inicijator, kao što vidite, je Teatar to go. Provedba je bila od svibnja prošle godine do lipnja također. Mjesto provedbe, kao što vidite, je Republika Hrvatska i bilo je 600 ispitanika svih dobnih skupina i zapravo bio je taj određeni cilj zapravo istražiti stavove o kazalištu tijekom lockdowna kao i nekakve buduće mjere, namjere posjećivanja kazališta u kontekstu novih samih mjera. I zapravo do kojih zaključaka je zapravo se došlo? došlo se do tih zaključaka da su stavovi usaglašeni oko toga mogu li online izvedbe zamijeniti predstave uživo i statističke brojke, zapravo nadmoćno niječu tu mogućnost, kao što je zapravo i rekla isto gospođa Zrnčić, da zapravo moramo se više orijentirati naravno na to da što više bude nam publike uživo koliko god nam ova situacija to omogućava. I zapravo također veliki postotak gledatelja smatra kako tome ne bi pomogli ni nekakve kvalitetnije ni profesionalnije režirane snimke kazališnih samih predstava. Također isto što se tiče ovog samog istraživanja, ispitanici su mišljenja da oko naplate teh ulaznica za online izvedbe, zapravo trebali su one naplaćivati ili ne, ali zapravo taj podatak treba opet promatrati u svjetlu nekakve nestabilne financijske budućnosti, jer zapravo kako je došla sama pandemija, naravno su svi borili sa financijskim problemima. I također isto podijeljena su mišljenja oko pitanja može li se online kazalište smatrati zapravo kazalištem budućnosti i sve uključene skupine ispitanika opet odbacuju tu mogućnost. I rezultati ankete pokazali su kako na odluku o posjećivanju kazališnih predstava u budućnosti neće utjecati ni neke epidemiološke mjere, ni propisani opet razmak između sljedećih mjesta, ni obaveza dezinfekcije samoga prostora. To je što se tiče prvoga istraživanja. Drugo istraživanje koje sam bila ja, sam inicijator i rekla sam isto koje su još kolege sam sudjelovale u ovom istraživanju. Mi smo zapravo ovo istraživanje započeli prije same pandemije i onda nas je također i zahvatila sama pandemija, pa smo mogli onda isto zaključiti neke stvari također isto koje se i dotiče same situacije. Bio nam je prvotni nekakav cilj utvrditi trenutno to stanje korištenja promocijskih aktivnosti u kazalištima u Republici Hrvatskoj i omogućiti to povećanje razine osviještenosti i znanja o promocijskim aktivnostima, opet sve u cilju unapređenja privlačenja same razvoja publike. I opet naravno da imamo mi nekakve svoje zaključke, zapravo pripadnici generacije Y u svojim namjerama da se informiraju kulturnim i kazališnim događanjima u najvećoj mjeri koriste opet internet i društvene mreže, čak i prije i opet, kao što sam rekla, kako nam istraživanje opet je trajalo za vrijeme pandemije, se zapravo iskazalo isto da se jako puno informiraju online putem. Također isto voditelji kazališta smatraju kako nekonvencionalni marketing nosi nekakvi visok potencijal kao metoda komunikacije sa samom publikom, što opet može jako dobro doći u komunikaciji za vrijeme trajanja same pandemije. I sociodemografske karakteristike poput korištenja društvenih mreža, opet volontiranje i također isto što je zanimljivo, to je iskustvo roditelja u posjećivanju kazališta povezani su s tom snažnijom odlukom zapravo za posjet kazalištima. Opet bi se referirala na gospođu Zrčić, zapravo mi, kao što ovdje je rečeno, mi moramo se zapravo odgajati publiku, pogotovo mlađu, a vidimo zapravo kroz ovo naše istraživanje da iskustvo roditelja opet utječe na samo tu buduću nekakvu našu tu publiku. Ok, trenutačno stanje, kako je sada zapravo je neizvjesnost trajanja same te pandemije, imamo sada novi val i ono što je zapravo nas na neki način nas stvara isto stres, da se informacije se mijenjaju na dnevnoj bazi i moramo ih izrazito pratiti. I također isto trenutačno, na primjer sad u HNK u Osijeku, kao ja isto kao publika, gdje sutra idem na jednu premijeru, znači imamo sve uživo također, ali imamo uz nekakve restriktivne mjere, znači COVID potvrda, da li testovi, maske za lice i ono što je stvarno isto napravljeno da su ta ograničena mjesta, kako ljudi sjede odvojeni jednih od drugih. I zapravo za kraj, kako sam ovdje napisala, nekim žargonom isto ko vadis, zapravo di idemo, koja je budućnost razvoja publike. Ono što bi ja zaključila kroz svoje iskustvo je zapravo, ako nam i traje ova situacija, da moramo biti izrazito fleksibilni i brzi prilagodbi, također moramo im jako dobro osluškivati potrebe same publike, moramo znati i često i komunicirati s njima. Ono što je, na primjer, kako bi ja to rekla, na koji način komunicirati s njima, po meni neko ko ima tu marketinšku isto pozadinu, ta kreativna marketinška komunikacija, možete od njih tražiti nekakvu povratnu informaciju kako bi oni voljeli, zapravo na koji način bi voljeli komunicirati sa svojom institucijom u ovom isto u ovom primjeru na kazalištima. I ono zapravo što je zanimljivo, to opet balansiranje vrijednosti pljeska i sa lajkom, zapravo kombinacija online i offline pohađanja. Zapravo do kada će i trajati, zapravo sami ne znamo do kada će ovo trajati, pa da li zapravo trebamo onda na neki način se i prilagoditi možda na ovaj hibridni način rada i zapravo onda poistovjetiti sam taj pljesak uživo sa tim određenim lajkom online. Evo, hvala vam na prezentaciji, tj. na slušanju.
Hvala vam puno na predstavljanju projekata koje ste provodili, a koji nam također daju značajan uvid, a uzimajući u obzir da nemamo puno istraživačkih projekata u Republici Hrvatskoj općenito i da smo tu svi mi nekako koji ih nastojimo raditi uvijek u pomanjkanju brojki i u pomanjkanju izvora, domaćih izvora za referiranje kada krećemo u te neke istraživačke procese, tako da hvala vam puno što ste s nama podijelili svoja postignuća i informirali nas o tome gdje možemo tražiti također uporište za neki naš budući rad. Sada bih pozdravila gospođu Danijelu Urem, našu sljedeću izlagačicu. Gospođa Urem je producentica, autorica i dizajnerica edukativnih programa visokog obrazovanja s više od 20 godina međunarodnog iskustva, predsjednica je Hrvatske alijanse kulture, osnivačica Doors Arts fondacije u New Yorku i partner MAST projekta kao koautor inovativnog evropskog magisterija objedinjavajući umjetnost, znanost i tehnologiju. 2012. godine Danijela Urem pokrenula je Ured za umjetnost i kulturu Sveučilišta u Rijeci, radeći na strateškom razvoju kulture i umjetnosti, osnivanju studentskog kulturnog centra, izgradnji kapaciteta i inovativnom programiranju. Dizajnirala je međunarodne studijske programe akreditirane na Sveučilištu u Gracu, Sveučilištu u Rijeci, Sveučilištu u Novoj Gorici i Tehnološkom institutu u Maderi. 2014. godine u sklopu nominacije grada Rijeke za Europsku prijestolnicu kulture osmislila je studij iz razvoja kapaciteta u kulturi i umjetnosti Republike Hrvatske, Untitled 2020, međunarodni program upravljanja umjetnošću i kulturom i kulturnim politikama. Danijela Urem diplomirala je na Pace University u New Yorku od 2004. godine u sklopu Doors Arts fondacije. Kao umjetnička direktorica kurirala je više od 70 umjetničkih programa međunarodno priznatih umjetnika i promovirala europsku kulturu međunarodnoj publici u institucijama kao što su Carnegie Hall, Tribeca Cinemas, Museum of Moving Images, Lincoln Center i tako dalje. Danijelin rad predstavljen je od strane Europske komisije na Culture Forumu, Erste Foundation, Goethe institutu, HRT-u, slovenskoj televiziji, New York Timesu, The Sunu i tako dalje. Trenutačno radi na EU projektima razvoja inovativnog obrazovanja i kulturnih politika kao strateški savjetnik Europske komisije i Europskog socijalnog fonda, aktivno sudjeluje u izgradnji kapaciteta u Republici Hrvatskoj i regiji, zagovarajući interkulturni dijalog i suradnju. Aktivni je predavač i govornik na međunarodnim platformama. Gospođo Danijela, željno iščekujemo vaše izlaganje. One će se više kretati prema kompleksnim procesima rada sa publikom koji zahvaćaju i razinu same organizacije. Evo, izvolite nam predstaviti svoju tezu koja se kreće od tog rada s publikom do organizacijskih promjena i utjecaja na organizacijsku strukturu samu, dakle onoga ko se nastoji promijeniti da bi promijenio svoju publiku. Izvolite.
Hvala, Sandra. First of all, I would love to congratulate all the partners for results and the beautiful project. And now I will switch back to Croatian. Voljela bih ovaj razgovor danas usmjeriti od amaterskih skupina do naših najvećih kazališta u Hrvatskoj i primijeniti neke stvari koje mislim da bi odgovarale svima. Prvo pitanje koje je menadžment treba postaviti je da li je prihvatio promjenu digitalizacije koja se dogodila u našim kazalištima ili općenito u ostalim umjetničkim produkcijama ili se čeka da se vrati na staro. Mislim da je to glavni odgovor koji se treba dobiti da bi jedna grupacija došla do nove vrste strategije koja je potrebna da bi se razvoj publike u njihovim prostorima dogodio. Ono što je bitno je povući paralele koje postoje, jer razvoj publike više nije toliko jednostavna situacija. Razvoj publike je na europskoj platformi možda prije 10 godina započeo biti aktualan i mislim da je u Hrvatskoj tek prije 5 godina su se počele o tome držati i predavanja i potpora Ministarstva kulture, kao što smo čuli, je isto došla nedavno. Tako da mi nismo u Hrvatskoj dovoljno educirani za neke stvari koje bi trebali primijeniti. Ja bih rekla da kreativni impuls ili to što umjetnici sami pridonose našem radu u menadžmentu i u produkciji raznih evenata je taj koji moramo koristiti da bi danas više nego ikad prije imali taj izazov i zaista dali više od sebe, da sav taj napor koji radimo od Ministarstva kulture do gradskih uprava za kulturu, do nas menadžera u kulturi, pa i tako svi koji sudjeluju u tome, bili povezani na način da ta multidisciplinarnost koja postoji izvan naših ureda bude napokon primijenjena. Ono što smo danas čuli, pohvale Hrvatskom narodnom kazalištu Ivan Plemeniti Zajec u Rijeci, je, mislim, upravo donijelo rezultate takvim putem. Oni su uključili djecu sa posebnim potrebama u rad, oni su osnovali određene segmente svog rada gdje u biti publika postaje najviše kultivacija. Ono što sam ja iz svog iskustva u radu producenta najviše naučila je da jedan osobni pristup publici na način da kultivacija publike koja postoji ili ona koju želimo targetirati da dođe je nešto što je ključno u cijelom tom procesu. Druga paralela koju bi povukla je znači umrežavanje i podizanje našeg rada na jedan širi nivo. Ja sam svjesna da još uvijek hrvatske neprofitne udruge nisu dovoljno izašle iz okvira svojih lokalnih ili nacionalnih kontakata. Na europskoj platformi imamo i Culture Action Europe, i IATM, a 10 plus projekt koji je gospođa Zrnčić navela također, koji se dogodio u Rijeci, njihova prezentacija i to je bilo više kao radionica unutar Rijeke 2020, je nešto što ja mislim da bi svaki menadžer u kulturi Republike Hrvatske trebao pratiti, trebao bi znati, trebao bi se povezati. Znači, ako govorimo o međunarodnom umrežavanju, onda smo tu odgovorni na neki način i komunikacija preko postojećih projekata i novih projekata, a isto tako prezentaciju naše hrvatske kulture međunarodno. Znači, sve što mi radimo u svakom segmentu mora sadržavati taj naš osobni identitet koji onda prenosimo izvan naših granica. Nemojmo misliti da target publike koju imamo za određenu predstavu se podrazumijeva sama po sebi lokalno. Neko bi nazvao taj princip sporednim vratima. Znači, mi možemo organizirati autobuse iz drugih gradova, utoliko sad ponovo govorimo o fizičkom teatru. Isto tako možemo predstaviti naše programe građanima na nekim novim prostorima. Možemo spojiti ekologiju i tu novu generacijsku potrebu za možda generacijskim marketingom kako bi proširili tu našu publiku. Ali ono što sam spomenula već i ranije, kultivirati svaki odnos svakog posjetitelja koji nam da to povjerenje da prisustvuje našim projektima je nešto što je ključno za dalje. Ja ovu situaciju sa COVID-om vidim optimistično. Mislim da će se dogoditi velike reorganizacije i digitalizacija našeg rada i programa zahtijevat će jedan dodatni napor u toj tranziciji koja se događa. Ali isto s druge strane ona ostaje i ostaje kao takva, kao dodatna mogućnost da mi u stvari svoj rad proširimo i dalje. Ono što mene u radu danas najviše zanima i nakon Untitled programa koji spomenuo, gdje smo imali i puno ljudi, Darko Lukić, puno ljudi je upravo predavao o razvoju publike. Smatram da osnivanje vlastitih edukativnih programa, da li su to mikro ili pop-up, je isto nešto što u ovom trenutku je potrebno kako bi prvenstveno educirali naš staff i ljude s kojima radimo. Isto tako naši programi i produkcije jednom kreacijom mogu biti povezani sa puno raznih, nazovimo ih, predprograma, nešto što se ne očekuje, nešto što postaje interesantno, nešto što unosi u sebi i jedan osobni stav, tu udrugu ili misije koja, ne znam šta bi vam još rekla na temu samih produkcija. Financiranje i umrežavanje isto sigurno povećava mogućnost financija, ali rekla bih da je edukacija i kreativni procesi, možda osnivanje memberships online je nešto što bih apsolutno stavila fokus u praksi.
Gospođo Urem, najljepše vam zahvaljujem na dijeljenju svojih razmišljenja, svoje ekspertize i svog iskustva. Sada zahvaljujem vam svima na izlaganjima. Slijedi da vidimo kakva smo pitanja dobili preko našeg četa i onda evo ja ću pročitati nekoliko pitanja koja smo dobili, pa molim ako neko može odgovoriti na njih da nam dizanjem ruke da znak. Dakle, prvo pitanje, na koji način se može doći do ranije spomenute publikacije? Dakle, publikacija, evo odgovorit ću ja, Audience Segmentation System in European Theaters projekta bit će dostupna na internetskoj stranici projekta. Internetska stranica je objavljena i na stranici Hrvatske noći kazališta, ali ona je ASSET for kao četvorka arts.eu. Biće dostupna čim se predstavi u svim partnerskim zemljama i bit će naravno javno dostupna za preuzimanje. Sljedeće pitanje. Iako nije bilo puno riječi o tome, zanima me sljedeće. Kada govorimo o audiovizualnim umjetnostima, ali i o kulturi općenito u online formatu, smatrate li da je ta forma dobra, odnosno ima li ona budućnost? Je li publika online formata ista ona koja konzumira kulturne sadržaje uživo? Može. Gospođa Danijela Urem evo, će nam ponuditi odgovor. Može. Hvala.
Ja bih rekla da sigurno ona koja je stalna kazališna publika u nemogućnosti sudjelovanja fizički sigurno ju prati online. Ali ja vjerujem da postoji i nova publika koja do sada je imala neki možda strah ili neku nepoznanicu unutar naših umjetničkih prostora, tako da rekla bih da apsolutno je publici sad na neki način lakše prisustvovati.
Možda neko... Maybe if I could invite maybe our international partners also, you can also participate in this question and answering session. So the question is, if I can say it in shortly, if you haven't got the translation yet, when we are talking about audiovisual sector and culture in general, what do we think are the audiences the same if we are speaking about online audiences of our online contents that we are running now in this pandemic, the same as live audiences in our spaces? Maybe from your side of view, working in other countries than Croatia. Are we speaking about the same audiences? What do you think? It's a hard question to answer, yeah. Možda bih ja mogla potaknuti na način da to je također jedna od korisnih možda istraživačkih tema za oblikovanje nekih budućih istraživačkih projekata. Govorimo li o istim publikama? Ako već znamo da nam publika nije jedno, da nam nije jedna, znači čini li taj bazen online publike jednu posebnu grupaciju ljudi koji će možda radije pratiti online kulturne sadržaje od sadržaja uživo, činimo li time naše sadržaje dostupnijima u jednom dijelu, bar osobno smatram da, onima kojima je pristup kulturnim ustanovama iz različitog niza razloga ograničen, ali možda je zapravo ovo pitanje izazov za neke buduće istraživačke projekte. Govorimo li o istim publikama kada govorimo o publici online kulturnih sadržaja i kulturnih sadržaja uživo. Evo novog pitanja. S obzirom na okolnosti pandemije, lockdowna i mjera u posljednje 2 godine, smatrate li da su dosadašnje veze s publikom trajno narušene, odnosno nalazimo li se na neki način na novom početku u kontekstu razvoja publike? Može, gospođo Buljubašić, može, hvala vam na javljanju.
Evo može. Pa ja bih zapravo tu htjela prokomentirati da ne mora biti nužno narušene, možemo to gledati kao određen izazov, čak i približavanja, zašto ne svojoj opet publici na nekakav nov način. I zapravo isto malo bi se htjela referirati na generaciju Z isto, koja je mlađa zapravo publika u nekakvim svojim počecima 20-ima godinama i middle, to jest nekakvoj sredini 20-ih, zašto oni isto ne bi možda bili opet ti koji će možda se naviknuti na potpunosti online publiku, a da ne pričamo opet i za alfa generaciju koja sada su zapravo još klinci bi mogla reći, pa možda i zapravo će i na taj način uživati kao publika. Tako da ovo gledam zapravo zašto bi to narušilo. To je moglo biti jedan nov izazov i opet približavanja publike.
Hvala vam puno na odgovoru. Ja ne dobivam daljnjih pitanja. preko četa, rekla bih da je to što imamo upućeno za nas sada u ovom javljanju uživo. Također bih rekla da smo ovaj stručni skup snimili i da ostajemo dostupni odgovarati evo i na daljna pitanja. Možete nam ih uputiti ako ih niste sad u ovom prijenosu uživo oblikovali. Možete nam ih uputiti na našu e-mail adresu. Mi ćemo evo biti slobodni proslijediti pitanja našim današnjim izlagačima i nadamo se da ćemo na sve njih uspjeti odgovoriti, kao što se nadamo da smo vas potaknuli, motivirali, inspirirali na hvatanje u koštac sa izazovima razvoja publike unatoč okolnostima u kojima to radimo. Za kraj ovog stručnog skupa, evo, voljela bih ga na neki način ponoviti, neke teze, sintagme i ideje koje su se tijekom skupa pojavile, a koje također naše pratitelje mogu inspirirati i usmjeriti u daljnjem radu s publikom. Na ovom stručnom skupu, osim predstavljanja projekata koji su provedeni i rezultata istraživanja i mišljenja sudionika, o čemu sve postoje javno dostupni izvori, također govorili smo o značaju odgoja najmlađe publike, odnosno govorilo se o značaju odgoja najmlađe publike od koje sve počinje. Govorilo se o osjećaju sigurnosti, o našoj odgovornosti kao organizatora kazališnih događanja i kulturnih događanja, o tome kako je nužno preuzeti odgovornost za to da se publika osjeća sigurno u našim prostorima kada prati naše sadržaje uživo. Govorili smo o pozitivnoj borbi za publiku u ovim izazovnim vremenima. Također smo govorili o tome kako je kazalište esencijalna potreba i kako je zapravo ona ravnopravna svim drugim esencijalnim potrebama čovjeka i ostaće tu uvijek s nama kao jedna od temeljnih potreba. Također smo govorili kako je važan neposredan rad s publikom. Unatoč online alatima koje smo neki razvijali i prije, mnogi počeli sada, a vjerujem da će mnogi i nastaviti kada ove izazovne okolnosti budu iza nas. Govorili smo o tome kako je neposredan rad s publikom nezamjenjiv i kako je bitan susret uživo kazališta i publike i kako online alati koje razvijamo možda mogu poslužiti našoj cjelokupnoj djelatnosti, ali ne mogu nadomjestiti izravan susret kazališta i publike. Također smo govorili o potrebi za daljnjim istraživanjima. Istraživanja koje su ovdje predstavljena nisu sva istraživanja rađena u Republici Hrvatskoj na ovu temu, ali istraživanja svakako nemamo koliko bismo ih voljeli imati kako bismo imali podatke na koje bismo se, konkretne podatke na koje bismo se mogli pozvati u razvoju budućih projekata. Govorili smo o visokom potencijalu nekonvencionalnog marketinga, o nekim drugim metodama marketinga. Iz osobnog iskustva mogu reći da nam je i ovaj projekt ASSET koji smo proveli pomogao u promišljanju potencijalno novih kanala marketinga nekonvencionalnog tipa, ali je bilo riječi o drugim projektima gdje se pokazao značaj nekonvencionalnog marketinga. Također smo govorili o tome kako je razvoj s publikom kompleksan proces i zahvaća sve razine sve organizacijske razine, od njenog mogućeg potencijalnog preustroja osnivanjem, odnosno sistematizacijom novih radnih mjesta koje su usmjerena na sam rad s publikom, znači o nekim subspecijalizacijama koje se pojavljuju u radu u tom procesu i potrebi rada s publikom. Također smo govorili o edukaciji za rad s publikom, o nužnosti razvoja obrazovnih programa i provođenju edukativnih programa onih koji će raditi s publikom kako bi stekli nova znanja, vještine i praksi drugih. Bilo je riječi i o velikom značaju umrežavanja, o dijeljenju iskustava, o povezivanju, uključujući ono intersektorsko povezivanje, znači izlaženje iz naših užih krugova kazališta prema širim kulturnim, a onda i povezivanju sa drugim sektorima. Te bih voljela zaključiti ovaj stručni skup sa tezom koja se također pojavila u današnjim izlaganjima, a to je da ovu trenutačnu krizu možemo shvatiti i kao izazov koji nas vodi u reorganizaciju i koji može nam donijeti u budućnosti i neka nova iskustva i neke nove prednosti u obavljanju naših djelatnosti. Ukoliko sam propustila reći neku od značajnijih teza, evo molim vas da me nadopunite. Vidim mirne ekrane, evo provjerit ću još jednom, pa vjerujem da sam ne bila toliko neuspješna u pokušaju sažimanja našeg današnjeg stručnog skupa. Završila bih s tim da se nadamo da je ovo prvi u nizu kojeg mi organiziramo, a također se nadamo da ćemo biti pozvani i sudjelovati i na drugim stručnim skupovima ili drugim aktivnostima koji su usmjereni na dijeljenje iskustava u ovom području. Ono od čega je projekt Audience Segmentation System in European Theaters započeo, evo time ću ja sada završiti, ali kao novim početkom. Dakle, cijeli projekt je nastao umrežavanjem i povezivanjem nacionalnih koordinatora Europske noći kazališta iz Češke, Austrije, Bugarske, Hrvatske uz suradnju partnera iz Finske i Velike Britanije. Sljedeća noć kazališta, 13. noć kazališta nam se velikim korakom približava. Ona će se održati 20.11. Evo, pandemijskim okolnostima unatoč i dalje u velikom broju mjesta u Republici Hrvatskoj. Za sada je plan većine kazališta ići uživo, naravno sa ograničenim brojevima onim koji su mogući u ovom trenutku, uz dodatak online sadržaja, ali i tu smatramo da je važno zadržati neposrednost izvedbi i u sve mjere sigurnosti za publiku. Dragi naši sudionici, pratitelji ovog stručnog skupa koji sudjelujete u ovogodišnjoj noći kazališta, ispred organizatora želim vam puno sreće. Konferencija za medije održat će se 16.11. u 11 sati. Također će biti moguće pratiti online. Na njoj ćemo predstaviti program ovogodišnje, cjelovit program ovogodišnje noći kazališta. A za kraj zahvaljujem vam svima najljepše na odazivu na današnji stručni skup i najavila bih premijeru u javnom prostoru naših ovogodišnjih spotova za noć kazališta. Nadamo se da su i vjerujemo, radili smo ih u pozitivnom duhu i u onom u kom želimo omogućiti susret kazališta i njene publike. Hvala vam svima.
Sutra je subota. Idemo neko dok nas još puštaju. Ali koga si naručio dostavu?
Od jedne glumice.
Ma baš. Predugo smo zatvoreni. Već si nije dobro. Gdje je ta dostava više? Kakva je ovo hrana?
Za dušu.
Molim?
Vodim te u bolji život.
Idemo.
Idemo.
Odmakni se od rutine. Noć kazališta. 20. studeni.
Draga, fale mi naši kazališni izlasci. Kad si zadnji put gledala nešto na daskama koje život znače?
Ne sjećam se.
Trebaš neko iznenađenje?
Ne treba mi iznenađenja. Moj život je onako prava komedija.
Pa možda i je komedija, ali večeras je i tvoja pozornica. Zapravo, noć kazališta. Idemo. Ajde.
Ne propustite opustiti se. Noć kazališta, 20. studeni. Vidimo se.
Dečki, ajmo igram Minecraft.
Ma da, i ko to još igra? Ma ne igram više, samo sam na TikToku.
Pustite igrice. Igrajte na moju kartu. Dođi, noć kazališta, 20. studeni.